welcome back to O Plastering Rendering. Today's video is going to be about plastering tricky little areas and also how to deal with lime wash paint, which you'll see there, that chalky stuff on my fingers. Previously they've had a different plasterer in to carry out the work in the cupboard, but clearly he didn't know much what he was doing. He didn't know how to deal with lime wash paint. So that's what the video is going to be about, and also fixing the cupboard. Right, now to scraping. You can clearly see that the plaster is not adhered to the wall really, it's just coming off like nothing. It's actually quite difficult to get plaster off the wall if it's properly adhered, so as you can see that's not the case here. Just had a big chunk of plaster fly at my phone there. Yeah, I had to check my phone wasn't damaged after that. So why it doesn't stick to the wall properly when there's lime wash paint is because it's really chalky, so it just can't adhere to the surface, because that chalk's not really adhered to the surface underneath. That's why you can wipe it off with your finger, so the plaster hasn't really got anything to stick to, because that chalky stuff is in between that and the surface behind it. That's flaky and it comes off, so the plaster doesn't really have anywhere to adhere to. So what we're going to do is get some stabilizing solution and put that on the wall, and then that'll get rid of all the chalkiness, and then that'll be ready to plaster. So yeah, I have to be honest, it was actually quite satisfying taking off that plaster from the ceiling, especially when I got the taping knife out, because it flexes so I could get it properly behind it, and yeah, just coming off in big pieces. So there you go, the magic stuff coming to save the day. Stabilizing solution. So what you need to do with this stuff is basically just put it in a bucket or your mud pan, anything where you can just have it, and then just get a brush or a roller and just apply it to the surface, and within 30 minutes or so the chalkiness should be gone, and then you can start preparing it to plaster. Just make sure to cover all the surfaces. You don't want any chalk left on there, or the plaster will fail there. So make sure you're covering everywhere and getting a decent amount of the stuff on. The last thing you need is, you've come in to repair somewhere, or you might even be doing something around your house, or you've done it once and then the plaster just comes away in that area and you have to redo it again. So yeah, make sure you cover everywhere and get a decent amount on. Crucial to any job, a cup of tea. Can't beat them. So after a cup of tea and about 30 minutes, as you can see, the stabilized solution has dried and there's no longer any chalk left. So that means we can start preparing. Now the next stage is to put your angle beads on. So I've got these reveals and I've got one stop bead to put on, and then an angle bead to put on there.
Wow.
And also the primer I'm going to be using to plaster the walls. You always need to use a primer so your plaster can adhere. It's going to be SBR. I find it's much better than PVA. It dries in about 20 minutes, and you can actually, like, when you apply it, it goes on blue, so you can actually see where you're putting it on. Yeah, it's just an overall better product than PVA. So yeah, measured the beads up. I don't normally use a tape measure to measure the beads up. I just usually do it by hand. You'll put your angle bead up to where you need it, measure with your thumb, as in mark it with your thumb, cut it there, put it on board because it's covered. I didn't have enough space to do that, so brought the tape measure out. What can you do? But I was originally going to nail the angle beads on, but I ran into a couple problems. One of the problems being is the walls were so out of shape that they literally would not fit, like, where I needed to fit it. So I had to stick them on. And also forgot to say that the nails would not go in. I believe there was brick like so close to the surface, so yeah, the nails literally wouldn't go in. So I had to level the angle bead with plaster there. It was an absolute nightmare, I can't lie. So when you push the bottom down, the top would come up. When you push the top into the thing, the bottom would come out. So I had to find a middle point, like a middle ground, where I could get away with it, and then fill the rest out with some of the plaster that I had mixed up. Yeah, uh, it wasn't ideal, but these are just some problems you run into in like houses. Can't do nothing about it. It's part of domestic work. Another method of fixing angle beads is using staples. Now, the only way it really works is if the background is plasterboard. In this case, I know this is plasterboard because someone else had already dropped my phone right there. My phone was definitely getting some abuse on this day. It was not a good day for my phone. Done this previously. So behind that plaster is plasterboard. Unlike the ones on the window where it's backing plaster, you can't fix staples to that. So yeah, it's a lot easier than nails and definitely easier than sticking them on because that just wastes time. And you can also use it on stop beads. Like when you've got stop beads, it just and you do it and you use nails. Nails come out all the time. Once you got the staples and they don't come out, that's it. So yeah, I definitely recommend getting a staple gun. So yeah, I know it's showing the SBR in right now, but before I talk about the SBR, I just want to talk about stop beads and where to use them. Like originally, stop beads, you do it where you want your plaster to end, or at the bottoms, but also on awkward angles like that, such as on stairwells and landings, or in angles like that. You can use stop beads because if I tried to put an angle bead there, it'd come out way too far, and I'd have to build up with so much plaster. I mean, it's possible, but it'd just eat too much plaster, and I'd have to build it out so far, and that makes your plaster more prone to cracking. So to avoid that, what you can do is you can put a stop bead on the edge there and bring it out slightly further, fix it, and then you can just plaster as if it was a normal angle bead. So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I've applied the SPR now everywhere. I just applied it neat, so I didn't water it down, nothing, just straight out the tub and then applying it. By the time I've mixed up, I mean it's pretty much dried already. So once it's dry, you're pretty much ready to go. Unlike PVA, you might be hanging around for ages. It just depends what background it is, but yeah. So I've mixed up the plaster now, and I'm applying it. I'm keeping in mind here not to get it everywhere, like you've got that wooden thing there, which they're going to put their shelvings back on. So I don't want to get it all over that, so I'm just trying to go neat. Just take your time with it, you don't really need to rush. If you've applied a decent amount of SPR, you don't have to worry about anything because that's sealed the background. It's not going to pull in too much, unless it's on bare plaster, which some parts of these walls are bare plaster. And because of that, I try to do those towards the end. So do the bits that are painted first, and then do the bare plaster towards the end if I can help it. Because yeah, if I went for the bare plaster first, that'd pull in by the time I'm applying the painted walls. Unlike if I do the painted walls and then the thing, so I can control everything. This was a rather difficult area to plaster. There's not a lot of space, and there's just so many tricky little areas, where my trowel won't fit properly. Yeah, that's how I plaster like bits where I can't really fit my trowel. I'd rather just bring it down. That took a long while to be able to do that. I couldn't do it when I first started plastering, but I've got used to using the trowel in all sorts of ways. Yeah, if you can't do that, just use a smaller trowel, or sometimes I use my taping knife. So yeah. Another thing to note is, as I've previously mentioned, these walls were so out of shape. Literally, I would just after I've applied the plaster, I would just noticing it. Like when I was flattening it, some places were like so much higher and lower. So I was just having to build up the plaster a bit in some areas. The walls were really out of shape. It was really bad. Now it's onto the even trickier wall. Literally, so many cables and shelf parts and pipes, absolute nightmare. And the angle beads, even though I've applied them level because I've had to stick them on, they were still out, and I had to build out to them to make them good. Absolute nightmare, but what can you do? Get ready for a fail here. This is why you should always wear safety glasses when you're doing sealing. In this case, it didn't go in my eyes, but had it been a few centimeters up, it could have gone in my eyes if I wasn't wearing safety glasses. But yeah, in this case, it went in my mouth, and I can tell you, plaster does not taste very nice. I definitely don't recommend trying plaster, especially in tricky little places like this where you can't get a full sweep of your trowels. Whenever I've dropped plaster on myself on a ceiling, whether it's in my height or on my fin or anywhere, it's always been in a tight space where I can't fully accept my trowel. So yeah, in tight little spaces like these, just wear your safety glasses. Honestly, it'll save you a trip from the hospital and a lot of pain. Yeah. So yeah, quick trip to the top, quickly wash it off, and get straight back to the ceiling. Once you've got a mix on, you can't stop. You've got to keep going until you finish it. Now is a crucial part of plastering. You've got to make sure you're flattening your first coat. Usually I like to do the speed skim, but in a small area like this you can't fit speed skimming, so it's okay to just flatten with your trowel. Just make sure you keep your trowel not so out. You got to hold your trowel more flat to the plaster so you're not scraping any off. You want to keep the thickness of the plaster, especially in a place where the walls and ceiling are so out. So yeah, flatten your first coat and then it's ready for the second. So what you see now is after I've flattened it and I've second coated it as well. Now I've got a brush out just to blend in where I need it to. So some plaster in the corner of the ceiling didn't want to come down. It was solid. There must have been no lime wash paint there, so I just left that up. So I'm going to blend in the ceiling to that bit. And yeah, any bits that are just sticking out too much or big bits, that's dried. Get a brush, wet it up, and then just brush over it, and you're good to go. Just give it a second flatten now. This is what it was looking like after the wet trowel. I still needed to give it a final trowel. I just didn't record that part, but yeah, it was looking pretty good at this point, so I thought I'd record it. And yeah, I was packing away all my tools, so I didn't bother recording it. I needed to get the dust sheets up and that. So yeah, as you can see, it looks pretty good. And yeah, that's that job. All fixed, looking nice. I did have one more bit to do in the house, but I didn't record that. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you took a few tips away from that, such as how to deal with lime wash paint. Yeah, overall, I hope it was fun. And yeah, thanks for watching.